Look at a still lake in the early morning. Its surface appears motionless, peaceful, almost fragile. Yet beneath that serene exterior lies unfathomable depth, countless currents, and a power that has carved valleys and moved mountains over time. This is the perfect metaphor for the human mind at its strongest. The loudest voices in the room are rarely the most powerful. The most dramatic gestures seldom carry the greatest weight. True strength, the kind that endures and transforms lives, emerges from the quiet depths of a calm mind. In a world that mistakes noise for power and chaos for passion, those who master the art of inner stillness possess something far more valuable than any external force could ever provide. The first mark of genuine strength is emotional mastery, and this begins with understanding that you are not your emotions. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. A calm mind recognizes emotions as temporary visitors, not permanent residents. When anger knocks at your door, you don't have to invite it in for dinner. When fear whispers in your ear, you don't have to turn up the volume. Emotional mastery isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about choosing your response to them. The person who can feel the storm of anger rising within them and still speak with measured words, who can sense fear creeping in and still take the necessary action, possesses a strength that no amount of shouting or chest beating could ever match. In moments of intense pressure, when the world seems to demand immediate reaction, the calm mind reveals its true power. While others are swept away by the urgency of the moment, making decisions they'll regret and saying words they cannot take back, the person with a still mind creates space. This space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Seneca taught that every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks the truth turns inward. In the eye of any storm, there exists perfect stillness. This is where you must learn to live, not avoiding the storms of life, but finding that center of calm that allows you to move through them with grace and purpose. The Stoics understood something profound about detachment that our modern world has forgotten. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care so deeply that you refuse to let external circumstances control your inner state. Epictetus, who lived through slavery and hardship, discovered that no one can hurt you without your permission. This isn't cold indifference, it's warm strength. When you stop trying to control things beyond your influence and focus entirely on what is within your power, your thoughts, your choices, your responses, you access a reservoir of energy that was previously wasted on futile struggles. This is the quiet power of letting go, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know the difference between what you can and cannot change. A calm mind sees clearly because it isn't clouded by the fog of emotional reactivity. Think of it as the difference between looking at your reflection in turbulent water versus a still pond. In choppy waters, your image is distorted, fragmented, constantly changing. But in still water, you see yourself clearly, completely, truthfully. Every decision you make from this place of clarity carries more weight than 100 choices made in the heat of passion. When you're not driven by the need to prove something to others or escape from something within yourself, your judgment becomes razor sharp. You see opportunities that others miss because they're too busy fighting battles that don't matter. You avoid pitfalls that trap others because you're not running blindly toward the next quick fix or away from the last disappointment. Patience is perhaps the most undervalued superpower in our instant gratification world. But true patience isn't passive waiting. It's active strength. It's the ability to plant seeds knowing you may not see the harvest, to invest in relationships that may take years to fully bloom, to work on goals that others have abandoned because they demanded immediate results. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When someone tries to provoke you, your calm response isn't submission, it's supremacy. When life tests your resolve with delay after delay, your patient persistence isn't weakness, it's the compounding interest of character. Every moment you choose patience over impulse, you're building a strength that will serve you for decades to come. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, the ability to slow down has become revolutionary. While everyone else is racing toward the next notification, the next deadline, the next crisis, you have the power to choose a different pace. This isn't about being slow or lazy, it's about being intentional. When you slow down, you notice things that others miss. You hear the subtle cues in conversations that reveal what people really mean. You feel the shifts in your environment that signal changes coming. You connect with parts of yourself that get lost in the constant rush. Slowing down in a fast-paced world isn't falling behind. It's finding your center so you can move through life with purpose rather than panic. External chaos is inevitable, but internal chaos is optional. The person who can maintain inner peace while surrounded by turmoil possesses something that cannot be bought, stolen, or destroyed. This doesn't mean you're unaffected by what happens around you, it means you're not controlled by it. Seneca wrote that nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a person's ability to stop just where they are and pass some time in their own company. When your peace comes from within, you become unshakable. You can work in stressful environments without becoming stressed. You can love difficult people without becoming difficult. You can navigate uncertain times without becoming uncertain about who you are and what you stand for. When adversity strikes, and it will, the calm mind doesn't ask why this is happening, it asks what can be learned. Every challenge becomes a teacher. Every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. Every disappointment becomes data for making better decisions. This isn't positive thinking. It's practical wisdom. Epictetus taught his students that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The person who can face loss without losing themselves, who can encounter failure without failing to try again, who can meet criticism without becoming defensive, has developed a resilience that no external force can break. This is the strength that builds character, the kind that gets stronger with each test rather than weaker. True strength doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't require validation, applause, or recognition to exist. In fact, the most powerful people often appear unremarkable at first glance. They don't dominate conversations, they listen more than they speak. They don't seek attention, they command respect through their presence. They don't need to prove they're right, they're secure enough in their convictions to let their actions speak. This kind of quiet confidence is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who possess it because it represents something they long for themselves. The peace of knowing who you are and not needing the world's permission to be it. Self-reflection is the gymnasium where inner strength is built. Just as physical muscles need resistance to grow, Mental and emotional strength requires the discipline of honest self-examination. This means regularly asking yourself the hard questions. What am I avoiding? Where am I being dishonest with myself? What patterns keep repeating in my life? Marcus Aurelius made this practice central to his daily routine, writing personal reflections that later became the Meditations. When you can face yourself honestly, acknowledge your flaws without being destroyed by them, and commit to growth without being paralyzed by perfectionism, you develop an inner core that external pressures cannot crack. This is how you become your own best friend rather than your own worst enemy. Silence and solitude aren't punishments to be avoided, they're sanctuaries to be cherished. In the quiet spaces of your life, away from the opinions of others and the demands of the world, you discover who you really are beneath all the roles you play. This isn't loneliness, it's completion. When you can be alone without being lonely, when you can sit in silence without needing distraction, when you can face your thoughts without running from them, you access a source of strength that never runs dry. The person who is comfortable with solitude brings a different energy to every interaction. They connect with others from a place of fullness rather than need, strength rather than desperation, love rather than fear. In a world that celebrates the loud and rewards the aggressive, your calm presence will be your greatest asset. While others burn out from constantly pushing, you'll find sustainability in your steadiness. While others make enemies through their intensity, you'll build lasting relationships through your consistency. While others exhaust themselves trying to control everything, you'll multiply your impact by focusing on what truly matters. The still waters of a calm mind don't just run deep. They run clean, clear, and constant. This is the strength that changes lives, builds legacies, and leaves the world better than you found it. In a symphony of chaos, your quiet confidence will be the note that brings harmony to everything around you.